In 1583, the French under the Duke of Anjou tried to take Antwerp by tricking the inhabitants into allowing them into the city for a royal honour. But the citizens of Antwerp were aware of his plan and closed the gates behind him. The citizens then threw rocks at the army and the city guard opened fire. Over 1,000 Frenchmen died that day, and this, the French fury, therefore ended in failure. But there was a good reason as to why the citizens of Antwerp were so suspicious, and that's because just 7 years earlier, Spanish fury devastated the city. Philip II of Spain did not pay some of his mercenaries, so they just rose up, all 6,000 of them, and easily sacked the city. And once in the city, they killed thousands of people, and one English poet who witnessed the event, George Gascoigne, said that he witnessed shameful rapes and they spared neither young nor old, and they killed a lot of young children. Now, this occurred during the Dutch Revolt, and the event had some pretty bad consequences for the Spanish war effort. For instance, the provinces of Spanish-controlled Netherlands united together to form the pacification of Ghent, and they also agreed not to persecute any religious heretics, which undermined a lot of Spain's work in the region. Now, this in turn led to the unions of Utrecht and Arras, which united the pro- and anti-Spanish provinces in the region. But I should say that this wasn't the only Spanish fury to occur. For instance, they massacred the inhabitants of Haarlem when they took the city. However, I'm highlighting Antwerp because this Spanish fury destroyed probably one of the most powerful cities in Europe at that time. Its population in 1567 was around 120,000, which was larger than London's, and about a tenth of the population was foreign, and this is because it was a centre of international trade. Now, it had in medieval times traded cloth in particular with England and Germany, but it became a real economic powerhouse in the late 15th century. For instance, by 1480, sugar from Madeira and the New World began arriving here in Antwerp, and new refineries here helped turn the city into essentially the centre of the sugar trade. And Portuguese ships filled with cinnamon and other goods began arriving here from Asia, and this helped create an early stock market of sorts, or at least pave the way for the future one in the Netherlands. In fact, it is estimated that around 40% of transcontinental trade passed through the city, and the city probably brought in more wealth to Spain than all of their American colonies did. And to give you some example of how rich the people in Antwerp were at the time, in the 1560s only the Queen and nobility had carriages in England, but 500 carriages existed here in Antwerp. But the Spanish fury not only killed a lot of the inhabitants and devastated the town, but it also scared away a lot of merchants. For instance, the Berenberg banking family moved to Hamburg, and a lot of merchants fled to the Netherlands, and trade was redirected there, as the Netherlands began accepting a lot of middle-class refugees. And the important textile industry here suffered a great deal as well because of this, and the English, unable to import from here anymore, began developing their own textile industry. So in a way, the Spanish fury led to the Dutch Golden Age shortly afterwards, and the English textile industry, which in turn helped start the Industrial Revolution a couple centuries later.